Hi everybody, welcome back. Tony again here with Shinsho Yoga, and this week here on the Jersey Shore, it is a sweltering heat wave out there. We're looking at 90 plus degrees with 80%, 90% humidity, so looking at temperatures feeling in 100 plus. So, instead of a posture that's going to build some heat this week, I'm going to give you a posture that's somewhat cooling and an alternative to some more challenging postures. So this week I want to work on rabbit pose. Now rabbit pose, you'll view it as relatively a simple pose and really a basic posture, but once again, just because it's more simple or more basic doesn't mean it doesn't have health benefits. Rabbit pose I often offer as an alternative to headstand. At least for me, for years, this is what I did. I happen to have a compressed disc in my neck. C4, C5, there's some moderate compression in there. Because of that, standing on my head for many years was very challenging in my yoga practice. And to this day, I don't do it freestanding. I'll always do it against a wall to make sure that my neck is supported properly. And it took me a long time to learn to do it. So the last thing I ever wanted to do was do a headstand just in the middle of a class. You know, there are teachers, my teacher used to do it. He would just, you get to the more advanced portion of your flow, and he would want people to practice coming into headstand. I might do it if I had a wall, but if I wasn't set up near the wall, there was no way I was doing headstand. So I always dropped into rabbit pose. And rabbit pose is just as healthful, right? It just approaches it differently. So headstand is an inversion, right? Rabbit pose is an inversion. Downward facing dog is an inversion. Forward fold is an inversion, right? Inversions are always about getting the head below the heart. A forearm stand or a handstand is also an inversion. Those more fall into arm balancing postures because they require a certain amount of strength and a certain amount of advancedness in the practice to be able to get into them and hold them properly, but they're still inversions. So inversions are always getting the head below the heart. And in yoga, inversions are considered healthful for detoxifying reasons. Getting the head below the heart makes the blood getting pumped through the body work against gravity, right? So our bodies, the way they're set up and designed, are designed to circulate with an upright position. When we're laying down, of course, it changes. Gravity works differently. It's kind of just like a pool there. It's one of the reasons why you don't want to be sedentary for too long, because the body is designed to be able to pump the body, the blood through the body and back up to the heart, circulating it. In this upright fashion is the way the body is designed. And it's not just the heart that pumps, it's actually your veins and arteries that also pump along it too, right? They have micro contractions along with the heart to help move the blood. If you ever have been to a hospital and know someone, I know it might be rare, but who's had a heart transplant and they have to put them on that machine to keep pumping the blood, it's not a little small machine like this. It's a huge machine to move the blood through the body, because although the heart is the main pump, it's also the arteries and the veins. They move a very small amount along with the larger movement of the heart to move the blood throughout the body. And that is used to working against gravity in an upright fashion, right? And everything in that flow moves in that fashion. When we invert, now the body is working towards gravity in the opposite direction. And the way it's viewed in the spiritual science of yoga is that's detoxifying and can help clear out things that are stuck into the bloodstream, stuck to the artery walls, etc., etc. I'm not a doctor, so I can't say to you that if you have clogged arteries that you should regularly invert and it'll take care of it. But again, this is the way yoga views it, and I don't disagree that it's absolutely healthful. I enjoy inversions. So whether you are forward folding, whether you are in downward facing dog, whether you are in a forearm stand, a headstand, a handstand, or rabbit posture, right, you are looking to get the head below the heart. Now rabbit, again, a much more modified basic version, but it still does a similar thing in getting the head below the heart. And by doing that, you will still get the advantages and the benefits of doing inversions. So I would offer rabbit to anyone who struggles with headstands, or maybe you can do them but you just need the wall, or you need a little bit of prep. And if you're in a class that does not offer that you're just kind of moving through a fast-paced vinyasa and your teacher's like, okay, headstand, you're not comfortable with it, drop into rabbit pose. The teacher should know that you know your body. So let's, without further ado, demonstrate rabbit. Now initially, rabbit is going to look a lot like child's pose, but it's not. And there are some key differences to it. First off, bringing the legs together. This is important because as we come forward into this posture, if our legs are wide apart, our chest is going to drop through to the mat and our head is going to be in line with our heart. And again, we need the head below the heart. So we want the legs together here. From here, you're going to roll forward and you're going to take the crown of the head down to the mat. So we don't want the forehead coming down this way, right? So you're not going to come down this way. Take the crown of the head, roll it into the body. That may mean you have to lift up a little bit here on the glutes, right? And bring the crown of the head down to the mat. From here, come back, hold on to the ankles, and sit back as best as you can. And breathe. And when coming out, bringing the hands to the shoulders and lifting back out. Because you have inverted, I would say do it a little bit slowly, especially depending on how long you do that. Now, you may look at that and said, Tony, that looks just like child's pose. Well, I'll show you child's pose. For me, I always take a wide leg pose because child's pose is not an inversion. Child's pose is a resting posture, and we're really looking to open the sacrum in that. So child's pose, I take my legs a little bit wide so my chest can fall through the center, my forehead comes down, and the arms are either going to be long in front of the body here resting, or swept along the sides of the body, the palms facing up. Either or, depending on what your teacher does. But there's a difference. In child's pose, my head is in line with my heart. It is not an inversion. In rabbit, that's why we bring the legs together, to keep that chest up, to keep ourselves from sinking into that. The head goes below the heart. And you breathe. So, rabbit pose. An inversion. A basic inversion. Still healthful, still has benefits, and it doesn't mean it's not challenging. As you come down, you need to keep the crown of that head down, right? This part of the head here. You don't want the forehead coming down as you would in child's pose, right? Plus, you're kind of rolling the whole body in. That's the concept of the rabbit. It kind of looks like a rabbit, kind of, just like pigeon kind of looks like pigeon, just like cobra kind of looks like cobra. They're not exact duplications, just like you would have in martial arts of, having, especially in Kung Fu, where you would have, crane attacks and tiger attacks or mongoose attacks or cobra attacks. They're mimicking the natural world. This is mimicking rabbit, right? So it's an inversion, alternative to any of the others, especially the more challenging ones like headstand. I wouldn't necessarily offer it as an alternative to things like down dog, because down dog in a vinyasa, you're going to be transferring from one pose to the next, flowing, and it's going to be very hard to flow from rabbit. But anytime in a class you are coming into headstands, you don't have the wall to work with. If you are someone who needs a wall, or like me, have compressed discs in your neck and will only do it under specific conditions, feel free to come into rabbit posture. And it also, although again there are challenges in that posture, it's not as restful as, say, the one that it may look like of child's pose, but is different. It can also act as a cooling posture, to be in that posture in there when you've gone through a heat building vinyasa and you need that moment and you need that inversion. It can also add some cooling to the body. So, as always, breathe, follow your breath, and as your thoughts arise, acknowledge them, allow them to pass by, and return to the breath over and over. Any questions or comments, feel free to leave them below. Be happy to respond. Thanks again for watching. Namaste.